Welcome to Hey a Movie, the podcast where two Christians review Hollywood movies and discuss if their spiritual themes are biblically based. I'm Chris Bastito,
And I'm Martin Glenn.
and this is a special episode, as we explained in the opening crawl that I couldn't make go slow enough. Because we've been busy with the holidays, but we did want to get a new episode out. And so we are going to recast the major characters of Star Wars as Muppets. Now, obviously, yes, many of the major characters are in fact Muppets. Specifically Yoda, a lot of smaller characters. But this idea actually dates back, to 2012, I want to say, maybe even 2008. I can't recall which, but we used to get together and watch the Republican primary debates together. Martin would come over and watch it. It wasn't 2004.
You're married. You're married. So.
Yeah. So okay. I think it was 2008 when it was McCain and Romney and whoever else ran. And then we more deliberately did it in 2012. Just to give some memories of who we chose. I remember that Mitt Romney, both times we said would be played by Sam the Eagle. I remember that Fozzie Bear was the stand-in for Newt Gingrich. I remember Carly Fiorina, whenever she ran, was a Fraggle, and I don't remember the Fraggle name.
Red.
Okay. I think those are the only ones I can remember off the top of my head.
Pretty sure Santorum was Bert.
I think you're right about that. And someone else, I think Ted Cruz was Ernie, I think.
That doesn't sound right.
I'm not sure about that. So anyway.
We're using Bert. We had to use Ernie for someone, but I don't think it was Ted Cruz.
I will, it was either, I think Ernie was either Cruz or Rubio. So if I can find, I was writing a blog at that point. If it's still floating around the blogosphere, I did make a post for it. So if it is still available to us, and if it's still on the internet, I will dig it up and I'll share it in our community. I do want to comment a little bit on location here. As you can see, we are not coming to you from Pod Cave North and Pod Cave South. Martin is recording from Village Glen Manor, and I am actually sitting at my office. So I guess you could say I'm at Wayne Enterprises. I had to work a half a day today because I didn't save quite enough vacation time to be off from Christmas through the New Year. So I've been off since Christmas Eve day, and then I came back for half a day today, and then I'm off again until Monday. So kind of worked out for me. Now, Martin, you did share with me you had some rules for a version of this game that you found on the internet. So
yeah, well, because this is especially true when it comes to Lord of the Rings, and Chris doesn't like Lord of the Rings. I think that's why he's less familiar with it. But there are a lot of attempts to cast Lord of the Rings as Muppets, and they're usually terrible, and I have a better version of it. But therefore I've thought about this. How would I actually go about casting a real Muppet movie? And here are some casting rules from my close studied observation of Muppet movies. Point A, like the Pirate Code, this code is more guidelines than actual rules, but they're strongly encouraged. B, necessary Muppets are Kermit, Piggy, Fozzie, and Gonzo, perhaps Rizzo. But you've got to have those four. C, Kermit and Piggy are the romantic lead. D, Kermit is a leader. Sometimes the leadership role can be assigned to a character, such as the creation of additional employees of Scrooge, so that Bob Cratchit can be more of a leader-like character. Point E, each movie must have a human or an original Muppet as a main character. More than one is fine. And F, no main Muppets can die or be evil, but they can get really close. And these last 2 points are important because Chris and I differ on those last two rules. So I have, for some characters, two versions because in my preferred version, I would actually have some human and some human characters and some original Muppet characters. But for the sake of the video, I've also picked a Muppet for every single character, even the villains, and the person who I think should be the main human character. So.
And I tried to, yeah, I thought because we didn't, when we were doing the political game, we weren't saying, oh yeah, and we're going to put in Michael J. Fox to play Rick Santorum. So I did all Muppets. I have an argument I will make because I do have a quote unquote good Muppet playing a villain. But it is a ultimately redeemed character, so I feel okay with it. And also, I inserted a little bit of Muppet logic, which will come up in our discussion here. So without further ado, I do have a slideshow. I'm going to have to edit it a little bit in post because Martin changed his picks, or changed one of his picks. But I am going to go ahead and share that now. And we are going to start with our Muppet choices for Luke Skywalker. And Martin, you can also share who you have after the fact. And this is the first time I've used the PowerPoint slide on here, so I really hope it works.
Yeah. So
I also went as far as to name my Muppets, Muppet characters. So I did that as well. So first character,
all right.
Richard Karn.
Yeah, so that's
that's not a serious pick.
Yeah, the actual human that I cast was Joe Carey, who I think would actually make a pretty good Luke Skywalker. But yeah, I would actually want Luke to be a human character, like I said, Joe Carey. But if I had to pick a Muppet, I don't think any Muppet works. But I picked Scooter. So.
And I picked Luke because I just feel like that's who Kermit would play. Now, everyone's going to say, wait a minute, that means Luke and Piggy, and the character we cast as Leia, who should be pretty obvious to everyone, who that's going to be, would be siblings and not, not a love interest. However, that will be addressed when we come to the second one. But I think Kermit absolutely would be Luke Skywalker. I don't see any way that you make him anybody else. He's the best, most pure character to play Luke Skywalker. And for the record, we are only dealing with the original trilogy here.
Well, in my mind, I think of Luke Skywalker as someone who is young, naive, and someone who has to grow up. To which point, I don't think Kermit fits Luke Skywalker. I don't really think Scooter fits that.
I was going to say, I don't think Scooter's an important enough character in the show or in the movies or the TV shows to serve that role.
Well, yeah, I also think Luke should be the human character. So, like, that's like if anything,
that's the game.
Yeah. Which is
my Muppet name for the character, his name is going to be Luke Skyhopper. Just, little pun there. Okay, so let me figure out how I go to a different slide here. Our next character is Princess Leia, and we made the same choice, so that was the obvious character. Now, what I did about this, okay, I took the character of Miss Piggy, and I brought in a Muppet trope, and one of their big tropes is breaking the fourth wall. So my idea here is in the middle of a scene, Piggy storms out with a script in hand and says something to the effect of, Kermie, this says we're brother and sister. I thought we were supposed to fall in love, or, the way Miss Piggy would say it. And then, there's a disagreement that ensues, followed by Piggy angrily screaming at the top of her lungs and Kermit giving up, exasperated, saying fine. And so they somehow change that so that the two characters are not, in fact, related.
Yeah, But I don't think Kermit works well enough as Luke Skywalker anyway, so I don't see a need for it. Just me.
I don't see anyone else in Muppet canon, and I wanted to stick to our rules and not something Lord of the Rings nerds came up with on the internet.
Well, no, it's not Lord of the Rings nerds. It's just observation of how Muppet movies are actually casted.
Right. So, I mean, there can be humans in the background. I mean, there were Muppets, and I mean, I'm all for replacing most of the Muppets with humans. Just flip it over, you know. But except for one that I felt needed to be a Muppet, but needed to be a new character as well. So there's a little bit of a joke on that as well. Okay, we are now going to move on to number 3. Character number 3, Han Solo. Martin, go ahead.
I think Kermit works better for Han Solo. He is much more of a leader character. He takes charge of things. He gets exasperated all the time, which Kermit gets exasperated all the time. I mean, like, he's not going to have the same kind of gravitas as Harrison Ford, but who does? And Gonzo certainly
No
doesn't.
one.
Yeah, no one does.
No,
So,
and Gonzo would likewise play the character differently. There would be some, again, fourth wall breaking in my version of the film, where, you know, he's excited that he gets to kiss Princess Leia and blah blah blah, and then Piggy basically beats him up for it and said, "No, we're changing the script," and just smacks him around a little bit.
I actually see him as backing Piggy up, actually, on that.
You see him as what?
He doesn't like. I actually see him backing Miss Piggy up. He's attracted to chickens. You know,
Well, there was a running bit in the Muppet Babies cartoon, the original, not the remake, where Gonzo was apparently attracted to Piggy even though they were babies. I remember some of that happening. So, and also the pun of naming him Gonzolo, I thought was worth doing as well. So those are our Han Solos. Next up, we have Chewbacca. So we did have different choices here. Martin, go ahead.
In my mind, the defining attribute of Chewie is the fact that he doesn't use words. So I wanted to make sure I picked a Muppet who doesn't speak English. And for that, I naturally thought of the 3 Blarney brothers, who are Beaker, the Swedish chef, and Animal. And out of those 3, Animal is the one that fits the most. I think he works. The only problem is his size. He's not big enough. But I think you can play around with that. I think you can make it work.
Yep, and it is believable that Animal would rip someone's arms off if he lost.
Yeah. I think he fits, character-wise.
So I had a built-in joke in mind with the character of Sweetums. I thought he was big enough, hairy enough, fit the visual description. And I thought, you know, we could make a joke about how even though all the characters seem to actually understand whatever Chewie is saying in Wookieese or whatever language they speak, the joke could be that no one can understand what Sweetums is saying, even though he's plainly speaking English.
That could be funny, yeah. Like this is out of all your picks, this is the one I'm kind of the most on board with. Like I think Animal.
You mean other than the ones where we matched up?
Yeah, apart from the ones where we actually match up, yeah. But this, I kind of get where you're coming from here, yeah. I think mine makes sense. I think yours makes sense. It's just a different matters of priorities.
And I would be happy with either choice on this one. Okay, next up is, I believe, okay, so we have our droids. I stand by my pick. I think my picks are better on this one. Having, you know, Beaker as R2 makes sense because he is just going to beep at us.
Yeah.
And then
So the main reason why I picked Gonzo here is because Gonzo needed to be a main character and I didn't have any left. But I can argue for it because in terms of their characteristics, and I'll have them look less like the actual Star Wars characters than you have here. Much more just Gonzo, except with R2 like things on him, and Rizzo just all gold, that kind of thing. But Rizzo is a scaredy cat. He's scared about everything. He's constantly going, "Oh, I don't know what's going to happen here. I don't know what's going to happen here," and he matches that aspect of C-3PO.
I mean, he's a rat, so he's not just a scaredy cat. He's literally scared of cats.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Gonzo is a risk taker. He's a daredevil, and so is R2. So I feel like their characters fit pretty well. Meanwhile, Beaker and Bunsen also work because Beaker sounds like he talks like R2 does, and Bunsen is a nerd.
Yep.
So I think both sets work.
And I like the name of calling him BH2O. So B for Bunsen, BH Bunsen Honeydew,
H2O?
and then
Yeah,
H2O.
Yeah, that is clever. Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also doing it this way, you have Gonzo and Rizzo as a pair, which was very popular in the 90s. So
yeah, that's because Brian Henson made Gonzo too important. It's kind of like what Sesame Street did with Elmo. Rizzo's meant to be a side character, in my opinion, but whatever. Okay. So for Obi-Wan Kenobi, I actually chose Mr. Snuffleupagus. I can really see Mr. Snuffleupagus as Obi-Wan. I can see there's a hidden joke in there with him being a ghost, because for the first, I don't know how long of Snuffy's run on Sesame Street, everyone thought he was imaginary, and then at some point they decided to let other people meet Snuffy because they were concerned that children would be afraid to tell adults if there was some other person talking to them, and that wasn't supposed to be talking to them. We're not going to go too far into that. I thought
Snuffy was supposed to be Big Bird's imaginary friend, but yeah. But
he was originally, and then they made him real. So so I'll fix that picture in post.
I picked
and
Ralph.
Martin, you chose, yep.
And a big reason for that is Ralph is my favorite Muppet, and he's vanished. It's like after Brian Henson took over, he just got rid of Ralph. And I kind of looked this up once, like what happened to Ralph, and the basic thing is that no one felt like they could play him as well as Jim Henson did. Out of all, people generally think of Kermit as quintessentially who Jim Henson was, his personality, but that's not really true. Jim Henson's actual personality, his actual sense of humor and demeanor was much more Ralph than any other Muppet.
Right, and I would definitely have Rolf in my movie, probably as the leader of the Cantina band, and then again playing at Jabba's palace. And
but he used to be one. Yeah, but he used to be one of the major Muppets, and he is a character who he's very witty. He talks on his feet. He complains about everything. He's highly sarcastic, but there's also a kind of wisdom about him. He's always speaking these wise sayings that are ridiculous. I think he really, really works as the crotchety old character who is like the mentor character. I think he really works for that kind of
I can see that. And I would give him enough screen time when he's playing music and stuff like that in the two scenes where they're bands. So again, they'll have a gig at Jabba's palace. And in the first one, the joke would probably be something along the lines of, okay, do you guys know this song? How about this song? How about this song? Fine, we'll just play the one we just played again. Because they only play one song the whole time.
I think Ralph is like a perfect pick for this. Snuffy, I'm worried he's too big, to be honest. Maybe you can make him work. I don't know.
It works because of a later choice I made. Okay.
Okay.
Next up, we have Lando Calrissian, and we came in
Right.
lockstep on this one with Fozzie Bear.
To be fair,
yeah,
I had you had contacted me saying I have no idea where to put Fozzie. And I said, oh, well, I cast him as a Calrissian, and you're like, oh yeah, that's correct. And then
Yep.
and
So that's what I did. Yeah. And
well,
that is the one spot where you having Fozzie as Lando or as Kermit as Han makes sense.
Yep.
So you do have that.
That's also how I came up with it, because I'm thinking of Fozzie as Han. The logical thing was to make Fozzie Chewie, but Fozzie is a talker and Chewie doesn't talk. So like, okay, where else can I put Fozzie? Oh, his other best friend, Lando.
Yep.
Perfect. And he works really, really well for that.
So we're good on that one. Next up, Yoda. I chose Grover to play the character of Groda, and there are two reasons for this. One, both are voiced by Frank Oz, and second of all, I was introduced to Sesame Street before I was introduced to Star Wars, and I always recognized the similarity in the voices Frank Oz did for these two characters. And initially, Martin decided he wanted Yoda to be played by Yoda.
Right, but Chris really pushed me on this, talking about like trying to come up with somebody else to play Yoda. And so I thought very hard about it, and I actually talked to my family saying, who would you cast as Yoda? They threw out a bunch of names, but Esther mentioned Sam the Eagle. And I thought, you know what? That would work. You have a much grouchier Yoda, but Yoda is actually kind of grouchy. Like I see how it would work. So I changed it to that, but that was literally last night, so I didn't get that changed to Chris in time. But yes.
So and at least it's a new character, so I'm going to give you that. Okay, I don't remember who's next, so let's see. Okay, we have the Emperor. And I'm just going to make this big for a minute so Martin can see. So I went with the co-emperors. And so it would be Statler and Waldorf playing a shared role as the Emperor. And my choice to tease Martin for who to play the Emperor as a human is the late, great Walter Matthau, because he just looks like, he kind of looks like him. I mean, that's really what it is. I didn't even need to edit his face or anything like I did with Statler and Waldorf. My runner-up was going to be Carl Malden to play the Emperor. Carl Malden.
I don't know who that is.
He played the father, and he played the priest in On the Waterfront. He played Bradley.
Oh, him. Patton. Yeah, well, he's also dead. So
yes, but in the end, I just thought I could see Matthau playing the role. So your pick. Go ahead.
My pick, like my actual pick for the human version of, because again, human actor. I was thinking of someone who's old, but still a very talented actor, would make a good bad guy, and also would just be hysterical for being the person who's picked. Like I went here much more for the humor of it, and therefore I picked Jack Nicholson.
Which he could do. He would definitely do that and do that well.
He would like show up. No one would expect Jack Nicholson. He's not a one-to-one at all, but just kind of come in and just say like, yep, I'm the Emperor. And it would be funny. And
I have a joke for Statler and Waldorf will be like, you think you can protect a thermal exhaust port only 2 miles wide? They couldn't protect one that was 2 miles wide. So that would be the joke, but they're the co-emperors.
Yeah, so, you also had names for them, right? They're
Darth Sidious and Darth Ridiculous.
Yeah. For the Muppet version of the Emperor, I actually went online and looked up evil Muppets,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw this character named Uncle Deadly, who I didn't know at all. And I went and I watched a bunch of clips of him. Like, yeah, he would work. So I put him in as the Emperor, and he actually is supposed to be a somewhat evil character. He's basically a slimy lawyer type of person.
It's a pretty good pick.
Yeah,
He looks good in the outfit. I'll say that.
he does. He does.
Okay, so next up we have our Darth Vader picks.
That's
And
exactly the effect I want for Pepe.
yeah. So I went with Big Bird, and there's two reasons. I think I still get around the rule because Darth Vader is ultimately redeemed at the end, and I also think it matches up well with being a former student of my Obi-Wan as Mr. Snuffleupagus.
I do not understand your pick here. I do not understand it at all. I mean, to be honest, you know what? I kind of want to go back and replace Scooter as Luke Skywalker with Big Bird.
With who?
With Big Bird. He would actually be a better Luke Skywalker than Scooter.
That could work. That could work. Yeah, especially
that didn't occur to
with
me until just now. But the problem is that Big Bird is too nice. He's too innocent. He's like 6. He's a kid.
Right. So it would be a much different dynamic with the Emperor, and also in the first film with Tarkin, more manipulating him than anything. Conning him into doing it, that sort of thing. He probably wouldn't force choke people. He'd probably force tickle them or something. But yeah. But visually, I thought it worked.
I do want to say we have some sort of additional. Yeah, if we do any additional material on this, I would like to officially change the Muppet for Luke to Big Bird. Just saying, because I have officially.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we can't do that re-record, but fine. But for the Emperor, for Darth Vader, I picked Pepe the Prawn because Pepe is a jerk. He's like, if you look at his character, he is a darker character. He isn't evil, but he is he is a manipulator. He is a he's very sarcastic. I think he also kind of works. And also because Darth Vader is, in fact, a redeemable character, and that kind of fits for Pepe.
Right. He tends to play more of an antagonist than a full-blown villain, kind of a Mayor Humdinger on Paw Patrol kind of character. So it does work.
Now, originally, like in my perfect world, I would have Vader as a original Muppet, but I also think Pepe the Prawn works really well.
All right. Next up, we have our choices for Grand Moff Tarkin. I went with Sam the Eagle as Grand Moff Falcon, and there would be a running joke where every time they say his full name, he'll say, "I'm an eagle, not a falcon." So he'll get annoyed about that.
That's it. That's kind of funny. I don't see Sam as being evil enough to be Tarkin, but he's more just.
No, but he's the best. I thought he was the best available military character. And for my teasing you for picking a human, I cast Adam Sandler.
Yeah,
modern, older Adam Sandler.
The actual human I picked, though, was Peter Capaldi. Who I think would be a phenomenal Tarkin. And it's also a slight reference to the fact that Peter Cushing had played Doctor Who for a Doctor Who movie once.
And they're both British.
And they're both British. I did explicitly look for British characters, though Capaldi is Scottish and not English.
Okay.
For the Muppet version, again, this is one that I changed last minute on Chris. Originally I had picked Pops, but that was because I was desperate. I needed somebody old. And then I switched to Bert, and I think Bert works a lot better. And then you have Ernie as sort of a character who's running around behind him. But still, again, I don't really feel there's a perfect Muppet for this, I would much rather it be a human actor.
Okay. Next up, Martin came up with a suggestion. This name is mostly Martin as well. That I thought he did a perfect job. So I went with the name Cookie the Nut instead of Cookie the Hut. Cookie with
I said
Nut.
Cookie with Nut.
I know. I didn't. It just didn't flow right for me.
Okay.
But in my version of the story, the cargo that Han Solo dropped when he was about to be boarded was, of course, a stash of some kind of cookies.
Mhm.
And Martin did have a nice addition there, as you can see in the corner, having his personal chef be the Swedish chef.
Yeah, it just strikes me as so funny, and also Cookie wouldn't have to be quite as evil here. He just wants his cookies. He just wants his fix. And at the end of the day, instead of him dying, they just like throw cookies in another room, and then he runs over and gets them, and then they escape. So I think you can mitigate things so that this version is much more Cookie than he is Jabba, and the overall joke I think would land. I think it would be hysterical.
Yes, I think it would be too. Okay, I think those are the main characters we planned, but we did add in a few ancillary characters, so these will not necessarily match up. But so next, Martin, go ahead with yours with the Rebel Commander.
So back when I was still casting Yoda as Yoda, I also thought of using Sam the Eagle as the Rebel Commander. He's not the guy that says it is a trap.
He doesn't say it is a trap. He says it's a trap, but because it's Sam.
That's not the Rebel. Like I'm talking about the Rebel Commander in A New Hope, the one that runs the. Anyway, still he'll be kind of in charge.
Yep, and I cast in Bert and Ernie as Burdekin Skyhopper's stepbrothers. At one point, I actually considered the idea of, back when Star Wars was made, I would have absolutely had Ernie somehow convince Bert to wear a wig and play Aunt Bertu, and Bert protesting the whole time how ridiculous he looks and so forth. But in our modern world, people will take it the wrong way. And
dressing in drag used to be a joke. And it's
yes,
not a joke.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And especially even going back to 15, 20 years ago, there were people trying to make Bert and Ernie something they weren't, which is they're supposed to be Oscar and Felix, the odd couple. They're not supposed to be a couple. So
they're roommates.
They're roommates, exactly. So, so I made them Burdekin Skyhopper's stepbrothers. So instead of one brother, stepbrother, there are two, and it's Bert and Ernie. So, and then we kind of reverse the roles as well a little bit, just because the name Bertu, Bert, Bertu, Baru, kind of works. Even though Bert would be the grumpy uncle and Ernie would be the more understanding, fun one.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have a couple additional characters. So I have the Storm Ratters. So the various collection of rats would be serving as stormtroopers. And we can make a joke about how the reason they can't aim is because their hands are so small and they're given normal-sized guns. Maybe put them in normal-sized helmets so they keep falling over.
Their whole bodies would fit in a normal-sized helmet.
Right. So we have them running around trying to keep these giant helmets on, and they can't hold up the gun. Yeah. And that's my idea.
Yeah, it would work. It would work. I have Beaker and Bunsen as the engineers of the Death Star.
Mm-hmm. Which makes sense as well. I just like the visual of them as the droids. I thought that was good, especially because Beaker just makes R2-D2 like noises. All right, next up, I just thought the character's name is literally Porkins. One of the fighter pilots, his name was literally Jack Porkins, so I don't know the character's actual name, but that is the captain of the ship in Pigs in Space.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. I think that's really good. I also imagine Statler and Waldorf being members of the Rebel Alliance who just heckles the leadership at meetings. I think that would, I think that'd be funny. That's just putting them in their traditional roles, but it's
And I made the joke of these fools couldn't hit that port if it was 2 miles wide. Oh ho 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 ho. And then going back to them being the emperor, saying this idiot couldn't correct the port if it was only 2 inches wide. Oh ho ho ho. Same joke. Just making it easier on both parties. And I believe that wraps up our casting here. This was meant to be kind of a medium-sized episode, something a little bit fun. If you like our suggestions or if you enjoyed this concept, there are a lot of other movies we could do this with. Top of my head, we could have a lot of fun recasting both Terminator and probably Back to the Future as well.
I, of course, already have my casting for Lord of the Rings.
Yes, and I would need to watch those movies again, which I'm very loath to do. So I just don't look. I'm sure plenty of people in the audience enjoy Lord of the Rings and enjoy the genre. I just don't enjoy the swords and sandals genre. It is not for me. If you like it, fine. Some people like broccoli, and I would rather eat my shoe. It's just a preference, and if you enjoy it, good for you. I recognize what it is as far as art. It is excellent. It is just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, and also to be fair, I also really like broccoli. So I mean, it's just also that.
Yeah, I mean, he's wrong on that. I mean, that's weird. So, okay, I have a former president. I have a former president of the United States who stands foursquare with me on that one, and you don't.
Okay, so I have one more thing. If anyone would be interested in us also doing VeggieTale castings, I think that could also be a fun thing we could do as well.
Absolutely. So I guess that will
have a lot less rules to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that would wrap us up here for our special episode 8.5. We are going to get to our next full episode. We are still going to get you a release of Free Guy next week after this one is released. And as hopefully you have noticed, we have been releasing quite a few fun shorts on that. So you'll get our episode of Free Guy and another episode after that. And then we're going to, not sure what's coming after that one, but we will, just to give you a heads up, coming up on a special day in about a month. And in honor of an old friend of ours from New York, our friend Joe P. specifically, well, it'll be Groundhog Day again. So we will take a look at that one, something to look forward to. Probably tell a little bit of the story of why we're mentioning it to Joe P. and shouting it out to him when we do record that episode. But until next time, thank you for tuning in to this special episode of Hey a Movie. Hope you all had a wonderful Christmas and a Happy New Year, because both will have passed by the time we come in. And until next time, I'm Chris Bastito.
And I'm Martin Glenn.
We'll see you next time on Hey a Movie.
Oh, good.
There'll be mystery and catastrophe, but it's all in fun. You pay no money, wait and see. Hey a Movie.